The current government shutdown is not your ordinary shutdown, and to understand why this one is unlike the 20 other times that the government has let funding lapse since 1976, we got to go back to the library and break out, here we go, our copy of Project 2025. Now, in case you need a refresher, Project 2025 is this 922-page blueprint. I've had to print it out in 2 different volumes. It's so big. It's an ultra-conservative agenda. It was built by the prominent conservative think tank Heritage Foundation, which has been putting together policy plans like this for Republican administrations since the 1980s. Project 2025 was put together after Donald Trump lost the 2020 race in the likelihood that he would return to the White House and be the president in 2025. But Project 2025 was toxic to Donald Trump's presidential bid last year. And for much of the 2024 campaign, he tried really, really, really hard to distance himself from it.
I have no idea what Project 2025 is. I've never read it, and I never will. And they keep talking about Project 2025. And I said, I don't know about it. I have nothing to do with it. I've said it every way possible.
Sigh. Those are such easily debunked lies. Trump has been connected to the Heritage Foundation for years. He gave a keynote address at one of their events in 2022. In his speech, he mentioned that the organization was preparing to, quote, lay the groundwork and detail plans for exactly what our movement will do, end quote. 2022, he said this. A number of Trump allies, including former and current Trump administration members, had a hand in writing or coordinating Project 2025, including Stephen Miller, one of Trump's closest and most senior advisors, the CIA director, John Ratcliffe, the White House border czar, Tom Homan, the FCC chair, Brendan Carr. But most importantly, this guy, Russell Vought, who is the current, and by the way, once former, director of the Office of Management and Budget. Vought is a self-described Christian nationalist. He's considered the key architect of Project 2025. He wrote Chapter 2 of what's called Mandate for Leadership. That's what the official name of Project 2025 is. Chapter 2 lays out strategic legal theories. Some are more legitimate than others about how to expand the power and influence of the executive office of the president. Quote, the great challenge confronting a conservative president is the existential need for aggressive use of the vast powers of the executive branch. Vought adds that doing so would require, quote, boldness to bend or break the bureaucracy to the presidential will. Vought also advocates for major cuts to government spending, dismantling the independence of federal agencies, gutting the federal workforce, and weaponizing federal funds to get states and institutions to submit to the White House's demands. That's the Trump 2.0 agenda in a nutshell. And a government shutdown has given the White House cover to do all of the above, which is why they sound gleeful about it, to the point that Trump is now openly embracing Project 2025 and its involvement in his administration after lying to you and telling you he didn't agree with it, he didn't know what it was, he would never read it. I think it's fair to say he probably hasn't read it. On the morning of the second day of the shutdown, Donald Trump posted on social media, quote, I have a meeting today with Russ Vought, he of Project 2025 fame, to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity, end quote. As the man at the head of the office that handles budgeting and managing personnel during a shutdown, Vought gets to determine who's an essential worker and who's not. He's been threatening to put into motion a large-scale, likely illegal reduction in force if the shutdown continues. He's also ordered the government to freeze $18 billion allocated for transit projects in New York, the home state of both Democratic congressional leaders Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. He's also said that $8 billion in green energy funding would be canceled in 16 states, states in which the majority of voters voted for Kamala Harris in the 2024 presidential election. The White House has been making it seem like they've got no other choice in this situation. But in reality, there's no difference between the White House shutdown contingency plan and the agenda they've already put into action. As the New York Times editorial board put it in an op-ed this week, quote, in effect, Mr. Trump's position is that Democrats must either support his plan to slash important public services or else he will slash important public services. The shutdown is just the catalyst to speed Project 2025 up, making massive cuts to the budget, firing government employees en masse, maximizing political pain on the Democrats and shutting them out of negotiations. That has always been the plan, and it was all written down right here in Project 2025.
Ali, you make a very good point, and that's the reality. Donald Trump, Russ Vought, and this malignant crew that's part of this administration, they have been engaging in mass firing since January 20th. They've been doing it outside of the context of a government shutdown. And so to the extent that they're claiming that a government shutdown may force their hand, that's just pretext for something that they've already been doing.
House Leader, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who joined me earlier in the show. Joining me now is Rick Wilson. He's the co-founder of the Lincoln Project and a former GOP strategist. Rick, nice to see you again, my friend. Thank you for being with us. In a Substack post this week, you published it right before the shutdown. You wrote, quote, "The consultants, pollsters, and focus group whisperers have told Democratic leadership they need to fight for the Obamacare ACA insurance benefit because it polls well. I'm sure it does. Happens to be the right thing to do, but not the right thing to do right now. Why? Because pain is the only teacher in politics," end quote. Tell me what you mean by this. Pain is the only teacher in politics.
The dirty secret of the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, tough guy MAGAs is that about 65% of the people who are getting that ACA benefit are MAGA voters in red states. I want them to understand that Donald Trump is in one more way screwing them over. He has screwed them over on the tariffs. He has screwed them over on tax cuts for people like Elon Musk, our struggling billionaire class. And now he's going to screw them over on their insurance benefits. The other part of this is that no matter what Schumer and Speaker Jeffries got in the room with Donald Trump, as the speaker correctly pointed out, they just do things unilaterally. Anyone who believes Donald Trump would keep a deal with the Democratic leadership is making a fool's bet. These are not people with honor or integrity who you can trust in a negotiation. They will turn around and bite you. They're the scorpion. It's in their nature to bite you. So my argument against making the ACA the only centerpiece of this is that you have a lot of other ways to bring pressure on Trump. My argument is, yeah, bring that pressure, but also go in that room and say, end the tariffs right now, so that Democrats could walk out of that negotiation and say, hey, folks, we tried to save the country, because the tariffs are killing our economy. They're hurting our farmers, our working class manufacturing jobs. They're hurting construction jobs. They are causing enormous economic damage. And so far, the Democrats are basically silent on the thing that people are now associating with Trump's worst economic instincts and plans.
Okay, so this is interesting. In some way, you're arguing let people have the government they voted for, and feel the consequences. The other issue here is that Democrats will blame Republicans for the shutdown. Republicans are blaming Democrats for the shutdown. At some point, this does become an issue of who blinks first.
Sure. And look, Trump has a pair of twos right now. He's bluffing. Trump is bluffing. They are under pressure from their people. You'll notice that the 25 or 26 Republicans in the swing seats, they're not out posting the sassy sombrero memes. They're not out bragging that Trump's going to cut the government down to nothing. They're not out there saying this is a great idea, Mr. President. They're scared to death. Right now, the state of Virginia is going to have a blowout this year if they're not careful, because the message is not, oh, the Democrats are cutting government jobs in Virginia. It's quite clear who cut the government jobs in Virginia. No one is buying that DOGE was a Democratic operation. No one is buying that this shutdown. And the early polling has all been running about 1.5 to 1 against Donald Trump on people who blame Trump and the Republicans for the shutdown. There's going to be a political consequence to this that the Republicans will have to eat. And all the Democrats have to do is wait at this point. I know it's hard. I know they don't want to have people lose their health care coverage, but they should want to teach the Republican base a lesson. They should want to teach them a painful lesson. They should want those farmers to not get a bailout. Because if the Democrats go along with giving the farmers a bailout right now, you know what the farmers do? Hey, Trump was right. He got us a bailout.
And then Zoran Mamdani should call him a socialist. Why I wanted to set up the whole, I mean, right? You could just let the farmers make their money properly, or you can give them a bailout, right? But like, if you didn't cause the problem, you wouldn't need the bailout, which is exactly what happened in 2018. I think we bailed farmers out to almost $25 billion or something. But that's why I wanted to quote all this Project 2025 stuff, because in prior shutdowns, it's looked like there's been sort of a two-way negotiation. Everybody's trying to get something done. Russell Vought, I think, is fine with this, right? He wants to drown the government in a bathtub, and he wants the size of government that you can drown in a bathtub.
Russell Vought is a political arsonist. And by the way, this is not a conservative approach. This is not a limited government approach. This is a maximalist approach. The reason they want to cut government jobs is so they can repose more power merely in the hands of the president himself. They don't want any sort of consultative functions in the government or oversight functions in the government like inspectors general, et cetera, because they want Donald Trump to be able to use government against his political enemies, e.g. Mamdani and Newsom and other folks. They want a maximalist government in the Oval Office. They don't want, and they're not cutting, by the way, they're not cutting to cut for efficiency or savings. They're cutting to cause panic among Democrats. And in that regard, the political consequences to them, they're going to lose 3 or 4 congressional seats in Virginia if they play this game. They can't afford to lose 3 or 4 congressional seats in Virginia. There's a lot of downstream consequences here, Ollie.
Yeah, and look, the Democrats have been winning a lot of special elections, but Virginia's going to be a big election. There's always they spent too much money, or they're low turnout, or whatever the case is. But these are the bellwethers at this point. This is the way to see how things are going to go. So if you're a concerned American, then you need to be telling all your friends in Virginia, make sure you show up and vote.
Absolutely.
Rick, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that Virginia is a bellwether, and the congressional races in Virginia for 2026 are enormously important. So we're focusing at the Lincoln Project on 3 of those right now.